What happens when the king of the monsters crashes into the Marvel universe? Godzilla vs. Marvel is an explosive 6-issue one-shot event where Toho's most unstoppable kaiju collide with Marvel's greatest heroes. Across different eras, Godzilla faces off against the Fantastic Four, Hulk, Spider-Man, the X-Men, the new Avengers, and even Thor. Cities fall, heroes rise, and the Marvel universe trembles as pure Titan chaos erupts across time. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Godzilla versus the Fantastic Four. At the Baxter Building in New York City, the Fantastic Four rushed toward the Fantastic car as Reed Richards confirmed alarming radio reports. Godzilla had returned. Reed recalled their earlier arrival in Tokyo too late to stop the monster's attack. He mentioned Dr. Daisuke Serizawa's sacrifice, using the oxygen destroyer to defeat Godzilla, and regretted never meeting such a brilliant mind. But now, that defeat seemed temporary. As they flew off, Ben Grimm spotted Godzilla approaching the Statue of Liberty. Johnny Storm flamed on and attacked while Godzilla's atomic breath shattered part of the statue. Sue created force fields to protect them, and Ben launched himself onto Godzilla's back, delivering heavy blows. Johnny added fireballs, while Reed stretched his body and punched the monster's head with massive fists. Godzilla roared as they hit it repeatedly, knocking it into the statue's base. Ben joked it looked tough, but wasn't much of a fighter, though Sue suspected something was off about its strength. Moments later, Godzilla unleashed an enormous energy blast, throwing all four heroes backward. Recovering, the team watched Godzilla wade back into the sea. Johnny noted how lucky they were still alive, and Reed theorized that Godzilla's blast may have been a warning rather than an all-out attack. Their relief ended when a massive tidal wave struck. Godzilla had reached New York. Reed quickly formulated a plan. He would channel the entire New York power grid into the Baxter Building to create an electrical trap that could neutralize the monster, though he admitted it might kill him. The team protested, but Reed insisted he couldn't risk their lives. Sue refused to leave him to die, arguing they were the Fantastic Four, not the Fantastic Corps. Reed, deeply moved, called them the greatest friends he'd ever known, and agreed they'd do it together. They hurried inside, connecting electrical mains to the building supports, while Reed struggled to prevent the energy from arcing through his body. As Johnny warned that Godzilla was almost upon them, Reed strained to hold the system steady, knowing they had only seconds left to act. Inside the Baxter Building, Reed ordered Ben to act, and Ben shouted, "Now!" as Reed and Sue activated the massive electrical setup. The building glowed with power as Godzilla approached, unleashing a roar just before the charge hit. Electricity coursed through the air, zapping the creature violently as sparks exploded and a thunderous crack-a-coom echoed through the city. When the smoke cleared, Godzilla collapsed amidst the wreckage. The Fantastic Four, battered but alive, crawled out from the debris. Ben groaned that he'd be sore for a week, and Johnny admitted he was completely spent. Reed noted that the rain had stopped and speculated if it was connected to Godzilla's presence. Sue, however, pointed out strange flames in the sky, not rain clouds. Reed realized the burning heavens were no natural phenomenon. It was similar to the Watcher disguising the Earth when Galactus approached. The flames, he explained, could signal the presence of a herald. Johnny mentioned that Galactus no longer had one, since the Silver Surfer had defied him and remained stranded on Earth. Reed feared this might mean Galactus had found a new herald, and as they looked skyward, King Ghidorah descended from the fiery clouds. There was no mercy and no hope that day, for it was the day King Ghidorah came to Earth. Reed admitted it had taken everything they had to stop Godzilla, and now they faced something even worse. The Silver Surfer appeared, confirming he too had sensed the disturbance and came to witness Ghidorah's arrival. Using his cosmic senses, he revealed that Ghidorah was a creature of pure malice, destruction, and death, once encountered by Galactus on another world, where it annihilated its own planet. Galactus had chosen it as his new herald, to prepare Earth for consumption. Reed suggested the Surfer could use his power cosmic to stop it, but the Surfer said Ghidorah's power exceeded his own. Yet he saw the humans' unity and decided to share his power. Before he could explain, he declared that Godzilla might be the key. Pouring the power cosmic into the fallen monster, he collapsed as Godzilla rose anew, glowing with cosmic energy, now transformed into Cosmic Godzilla, roaring to face King Ghidorah. Cosmic Godzilla unleashed a devastating energy blast against King Ghidorah, roaring with power. The three-headed dragon countered with golden lightning breath, the beams clashing violently across the ruined city. Both monsters unleashed their full might, shaking the skyline. As the Fantastic Four watched, Reed realized Godzilla was being overpowered. Sue warned they couldn't wait for another chance. If Earth was to survive, they had to fight. Ben shouted it was clobbering time, and Johnny flamed on, soaring into the sky. He fired blasts at Ghidorah, assuring Godzilla he was an ally, not an enemy. Godzilla roared in recognition and answered with his own cosmic heatwave. Johnny cheered as the atomic beam struck Ghidorah, sending the dragon crashing into rubble. Reed and Ben prepared another move. Reed stretched his body, slingshotting Ben across the city. Ben asked if Reed knew what he was doing, and Reed admitted he didn't, but said they had to try. Reed launched him, and Ben yelled "Gangway" as he flew straight into Ghidorah's face, punching one of the heads with a solid blow. Godzilla followed up with a powerful strike, slamming Ghidorah to the ground. Despite their teamwork, the dragon continued to thrash, throwing debris everywhere. The team realized New York was still being destroyed. Reed said they needed to end the battle fast. Sue proposed distracting Ghidorah to let Godzilla land a decisive hit. She explained her idea, to bend light not just to make something invisible, but to alter scale and appearance. She could make something enormous. Ben understood and volunteered, joking she should make sure to show his good side. Sue smiled and began her experiment, enlarging Ben's projected image into a massive illusion of himself, towering over the battlefield. The illusion taunted Ghidorah, daring it to pick on someone its own size. Johnny joked about the accuracy of the voice, while Reed kept control of the illusion. As Ghidorah focused on the false Ben, Godzilla charged up his atomic and cosmic power, combining them into one ultimate blast. He released it in a blinding surge, striking Ghidorah with divine force. The dragon screeched as the beam tore through it, freeing it from Galactus's control. Later, Reed recorded his findings, noting Godzilla had knocked the power cosmic out of Ghidorah, who then fled into space. Godzilla returned to the ocean, surrendering the power cosmic back to the Silver Surfer. Reed theorized Galactus still sought Earth, and that one day, Godzilla might have to face him directly. He concluded somberly, wondering if anyone could survive a battle between Godzilla and Galactus. Godzilla vs. Hulk. General Thunderbolt Ross ended a press briefing at Thunderbolt Ranch, telling reporters it was time to leave because everyone there was working on their most dangerous project yet, capturing and pacifying Godzilla. When a reporter tried to ask if that was a euphemism, Ross curtly cut him off. Jackson Giles from the Daily Bugle, Texas, questioned him about rumors claiming the Hulk was still alive beneath the ranch. Ross invited him onto his helicopter to see something himself. He explained that Thunderbolt Ranch extended 80 stories underground and held national secrets and monsters, including those that should never see daylight. He added that the Hulk had been dead since the 80s, but assured that he was still handling the Kaiju threat. Below the base, Bruce Banner, now calm and focused, walked through the halls. He met Dr. Demonicus and asked if the containment would hold. Demonicus assured him it would and showed a massive device he called the Kaiju Incinerator, claiming it would destroy the king of the monsters if everyone did their part. In the helicopter, Giles pressed Ross about how he had killed others like Fin Fang Foom and Surtur, but not Godzilla. Ross replied that Texas-style hunting required big bait, and they had one. On the ground, Kumonga the giant spider had trapped Mothra, who screamed in agony. Ross revealed that the trap involved a device attached to Kumonga's head. Banner objected to the cruel plan, arguing there had to be a better way. Demonicus mocked him for showing weakness, insisting all abominations needed cleansing. He revealed that controlling Kumonga would not last long, but Mothra's cries would lure Godzilla. When Banner asked what would happen after Godzilla was gone, Demonicus said he had been destroyed by the Kaiju War, both body and soul. Banner countered that Demonicus had no idea what being a monster truly was. The plan succeeded. Mothra's cries drew Godzilla to San Antonio. As the creature emerged, Ross ordered airstrikes, but Godzilla swatted planes from the sky. Ross parachuted toward the underground barn, where Banner would meet him. Inside, Ross demanded to be launched into the fight, while Banner prepared for deployment, his pre-flight check complete. Demonicus gave the command, launch. The rebuilt Mechagodzillas launched into battle, enhanced by Tony Stark's designs and now fully autonomous. Ross praised Stark's genius, hoping his sacrifice would help eliminate Godzilla once and for all. As the metal titans advanced, Godzilla roared and unleashed his atomic breath, melting through one Mechagodzilla. The operator screamed from the unbearable heat. Ross ordered Banner to keep Godzilla distracted while he unleashed heavy fire, comparing the assault to a 4th of July celebration. Missiles blasted into Godzilla, staggering him. Demonicus in the control room gloated that even if they all died, Godzilla would perish too. He redirected Killmonger to attack. The giant spider lunged at Godzilla, spinning steel-like webs around him. Demonicus ordered Killmonger to ensure Godzilla was ensnared. The web held tight as a Mechagodzilla kicked the restrained monster. Ross urged Banner to press the advantage, shouting there was no tomorrow. Thunderbolt 1 collided with Killmonger, and Ross cursed Banner for knocking him into the spider. Upside down and furious, Ross yelled at Banner to get in the game. Godzilla broke free from the webs, his strength unmatched. He crushed Mechagodzilla's arm, dismembering it, and slammed the robot into the ground with immense force. Banner reported Thunderbolt 2 was being disarmed. Literally. Godzilla's atomic blast destroyed Killmonger next, sending its body crashing in flames. Ross yelled for Demonicus to activate his failsafe. The scientist replied it was time to repay everyone, the monsters and the men who ruined him. He confessed that while pretending to incinerate Kaiju remains, he had been harvesting them to create a new monster that would end the Kaiju war. Instead of control, he aimed for a single ruler. Ross demanded answers, but Demonicus revealed he hadn't built a sarcophagus. It was an egg, now hatching. The grotesque creature inside emerged. Hedorah, a sludge-like amalgamation of all fallen monsters. Demonicus proudly introduced it, claiming it combined the deadliest kaiju traits, including fin-fang fooms. He declared that death itself would restore balance to the world. Hedorah rose from the ground, massive and dripping with black ooze. It attacked, and Ross's mech was struck. Godzilla fired his atomic breath at the new horror as Hedorah retaliated. Ross screamed that he couldn't eject. Trapped inside his collapsing cockpit, Banner panicked as the monsters crushed the hull. Desperate, he muttered, "I want to live." His eyes went green, muscles swelling, and some secrets burst free. This was the day Bruce Banner's rage escaped its cage. The Incredible Hulk burst free from the wreckage, roaring as he rejoined the battlefield. Furious, he declared his hatred for robots, bugs, and especially slime monsters. He launched himself at Hedorah, smashing the creature with a powerful punch. Dr. Demonicus, observing, muttered that this was unexpected and wondered who was buried in Hulk's grave if Banner was alive. Hulk raged that Banner worked with Thunderbolt Ross and vowed to smash him too. As Hedorah struck back, Ross demanded answers, shouting for Demonicus to call off his monster. Demonicus taunted him, saying Hedorah was melting Ross's mech and asking if those would be his last words. Hulk laughed mockingly, calling Ross weak for hiding in a metal suit. Despite his anger, Hulk saved Ross from certain death. Carrying him away, Hulk told him he hated him, but spared his life. Ross, bewildered, asked who was in Hulk's grave if Banner still lived. Hulk replied that Banner was the real monster who blamed others, before bellowing his battle cry. Hulk, smash all monsters. Meanwhile, Hedorah overwhelmed Godzilla, dissolving his eyes and crawling toward his brain. Hulk intervened, punching the sludge creature, but burning his hand. Demonicus gloated that Hulk couldn't win, boasting that Hedorah was born from hundreds of kaiju corpses and superior intellect. Hulk ignored him, realizing everyone had called him a monster, and maybe they were wrong about Godzilla too. He ripped an electrical wire from a power pole and swung it toward Godzilla, shouting that Dr. Hulk would save him. Electricity surged through Godzilla's body, reviving him. Hulk's gamma blood splattered onto the creature, turning Godzilla's eyes glowing green. Now infused with gamma energy, Godzilla rose mightier than before, and it was his turn to smash. The colossal titan tore into Hedorah, ripping it apart with claws and atomic fire. Hedorah tried to strike back, but Godzilla's fury, amplified by Hulk's power, obliterated it in one devastating blow. Demonicus screamed in disbelief before the explosion consumed him. Afterward, Hulk freed Mothra and Killmonger, calling them big dumb bugs. Standing before Godzilla, he admitted he didn't want to prove he was the strongest that day. The gamma surge drained them both, and they collapsed side by side. Later, Bruce Banner awoke beside a recovering Godzilla. Ross pointed a gun at him, demanding a reason not to shoot. Banner calmly said he wouldn't make Godzilla angry. He told Ross that monsters stick together and urged him to give up his own inner monster, if he was strong enough. Ross hesitated, lowering the gun, as the final panel showed his hand bleeding slightly. ending with the words, "The end." Godzilla versus Spider-Man. Spider-Man swung through New York in his new black suit, thrilled to be back after some time away. Admiring the city, he joked about crime and decided to take action himself. Spotting trouble, he leapt into battle, testing out his new threads. He clashed with the Shocker, who taunted him for wearing black, claiming it suited a funeral. Spider-Man replied he had just returned from a secret war across the universe, where he picked up this alien costume. As they fought, Spider-Man noticed Shocker's vibro gauntlets had been upgraded, but so had his own powers. His new suit generated its own webbing, was more durable, and even transformed into casual clothes on command. Something Peter was clearly thrilled about. Shocker bragged about showcasing his destructive force, while Spider-Man mocked his obsession with branding. Spider-Man remembered swinging through the city with Black Cat, who flirted and admired his new suit. She secretly thought about her new bad luck powers gifted by the Kingpin. Meanwhile, Spider-Man continued battling Shocker, mocking his lack of improvement. Down at the Daily Bugle, Jonah Jameson yelled at Peter for quitting college and demanded better photos to compete with Eddie Brock. Peter shrugged it off, thinking life was still good, until a massive roar interrupted. He looked up and froze as Godzilla rose from the Hudson River, towering over the city. Spider-Man identified him as the King of the Monsters, recalling Godzilla's previous fight with the Hulk. As chaos erupted, Spider-Man and Shocker agreed to call a timeout. Spider-Man webbed Shocker up and ran to help civilians while Godzilla stomped through the streets. Then, to Peter's shock, he spotted Mary Jane at his apartment window. Realizing the monster was heading straight there, he yelled for her to jump as Godzilla closed in. As Godzilla smashed through the city, Spider-Man grabbed Mary Jane just in time, swinging them away from collapsing buildings. She screamed his name in panic, while Peter thought she had probably come to surprise him. Trying to reassure her, he pretended not to be Peter, but she immediately called him out, saying she had known for years he was Spider-Man and wasn't an idiot. Shocked, Peter struggled to focus as they swung to safety, with Mary Jane reminding him that her revelation wasn't the priority right now. Landing on a nearby rooftop, Spider-Man checked if she was all right, but before they could talk further, Black Cat appeared, worried he might have been hurt. She embraced him, calling him lover, which made Mary Jane glare in disbelief. As the two women exchanged sharp comments about each other's outfits, Peter tried to calm them down, insisting they could argue later, preferably when they weren't about to die. The trio turned as Godzilla loomed closer, and Spider-Man decided to distract the monster, while asking Black Cat to take Mary Jane to safety. Spider-Man swung toward Godzilla, keeping its attention away from the civilians. The monster's size and fury made every move dangerous, but Peter joked to himself, singing and taunting to stay focused. He tried leading Godzilla toward the less populated west side, barely avoiding its jaws and claws. Suddenly, Godzilla let out a thunderous roar that struck Peter like a physical blow. The sound tore through him, and the symbiote suit began to scream, alive and in agony. The black suit ripped away from his body, writhing and lashing out toward Godzilla. Peter watched in horror as the symbiote latched onto the kaiju and began spreading across its body. He realized the suit wasn't just alien fabric, it was alive and responding to his thoughts, possibly trying to help. But instead, it merged with Godzilla, forming a monstrous hybrid. Covered in black tendrils and the white spider emblem, Godzilla became Venom-Godzilla. Peter realized his mistake. He had brought an alien organism to Earth, and now it had bonded with the most powerful creature alive. Deep within, the Venom-Godzilla's consciousness linked with the King in Black, the ancient god of symbiotes. While the King reveled in chaos and corruption, Godzilla's instincts resisted, seeking to cleanse the planet of threats. But the symbiote's corruption spread, and in its confusion, Godzilla lashed out, attacking everything in sight. Black Cat and Mary Jane evacuated civilians as jets bombarded the monster. Peter, guilt-stricken, vowed to fix his mistake, even if it meant dying trying. As Venom-Godzilla rampaged through Manhattan, the symbiote fed on Godzilla's immense energy, growing more powerful with every moment. Tanks fired uselessly while the monster's corruption spread. Yet deep within, Godzilla's will fought back, struggling to resist the alien influence threatening to consume the planet. Amid the chaos, Spider-Man returned, feeling nauseous and terrified of what he had to do. Standing on a floating disc rigged with tech from Shocker's gauntlets, he prepared his next desperate move. Realizing the symbiote had reacted violently to Godzilla's roar earlier, Peter hypothesized it was weak against sonic vibrations. He recalibrated Shocker's gauntlets to match the frequency of Godzilla's roar, and in his old red and blue suit, decided to use sound as his weapon. Taking aim, he charged forward on his improvised hovercraft, joking grimly that it was time for some alterations. Hovering above the battlefield, Spider-Man blasted the venom-corrupted kaiju with sonic waves, yelling, "E.T. go hell!" The attack resonated violently through the monster, causing the symbiote to splatter and shriek in agony. Watching from below, Mary Jane and Black Cat exchanged quips, Mary Jane teasing that humor must be what kept Spider-Man and Cat together, while Felicia replied she preferred the silent type. As the sonic waves intensified, Spider-Man's body endured tremendous strain. Every cell screamed in pain as he pushed his weapon to maximum output. The backlash sent him plummeting toward the ground, his body battered and nearly unconscious. As he fell, Peter thought only of how he hoped he had done enough to fix his mistake, before being caught in Godzilla's massive hand. The king of the monsters, now freed from the symbiote, cradled Spider-Man gently. Godzilla roared one last time, unleashing his atomic breath to burn the remaining symbiote into ash. Snow-like residue fell over Manhattan as peace briefly returned. Exhausted, Spider-Man looked up and joked that he wished he had his camera. Days later, Eddie Brock scavenged the ruins for photos of Spider-Man and Godzilla's battle. He mocked Peter and gloated that publishing the photos would ruin him. But as he celebrated, a surviving fragment of the symbiote slithered up his leg and enveloped him. Eddie screamed as it consumed him, transforming him into something monstrous. From the shadows, the newly reborn creature roared, declaring itself God Venom. Godzilla vs. X-Men. At the Imabari shipyards in Japan, Shiro Yoshida, also known as Sunfire, unleashed his power, generating superheated plasma to combat an overwhelming force. Despite being accustomed to dominating any battle with his heat, even he struggled against what loomed before him, Godzilla. The massive creature attacked for the third time in weeks, targeting specific industrial zones. As flames met atomic breath, the sea boiled, and the surrounding ships erupted in chaos. Japan had believed Godzilla gone for good since his last appearance years ago, but his return shattered that illusion. Sunfire, who once prided himself on never fearing any foe, now regretted his arrogance as a tsunami swept across the shipyard, leaving devastation in its wake. At the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning in New York, Professor Charles Xavier held a meeting with Mr. Kaneto, a representative from Japan's Tsugai Corporation, discussing how to handle Godzilla's resurgence. Xavier acknowledged the irony of being asked to protect a world that hated and feared mutants. Kaneto expressed skepticism, insisting large weapons were the only answer since past attempts had failed. Xavier argued that Godzilla's actions were deliberate, showing reasoned motivation rather than mindless destruction. Val Cooper countered that force must meet force, questioning if Xavier was excusing the monster. Xavier maintained that understanding must precede judgment, stating they'd be remiss not to try communication first, but if peaceful means failed, they would be ready. Meanwhile, the X-Men trained in the Danger Room. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, and Beast coordinated against a simulated threat. Cyclops' optic blasts barely pierced the target's hide. Jean used her telepathy to coordinate attacks, while Storm manipulated weather-based energy and Wolverine tore through obstacles. Beast observed the radiation signatures resembled Godzilla's origins, making the simulation eerily realistic. After the session, Xavier told the team that Valerie Cooper and Henry McCoy were arranging government cooperation. He emphasized his desire to communicate with Godzilla if possible, but instructed them to prepare for confrontation as well. In Boulder, Colorado, Gambit infiltrated a secured CSA storage facility. He bypassed defenses and located a frozen super-adaptoid, a construct capable of replicating superpowers. Wolverine, guiding him remotely, reminded him they'd planned ahead. Gambit revealed PIM particles, smirking that escaping would now be easier. At the Tsugina manufacturing facility in Ise Bay, Nagoya, Japan, days after the previous events, Godzilla returned under the moonlight. Humanity's relentless pursuit of the monster had only led to self-destruction. Each time they hunted Godzilla, their actions provoked escalation, and in turn, Godzilla retaliated with obliteration. While humans justified their attacks in the name of security, they ultimately endangered everyone. Inside a nearby office, executives discussed logistics, saying that the parts lost in Godzilla's earlier attacks had been replaced by their American partner, and that offshore production would resume with a delivery scheduled in 2 days. Yet even as they spoke, Godzilla silently watched from the water. 2 days later, the Tsugina cargo ship neared port. The X-Men, aboard the Blackbird jet, tracked the situation. Cyclops noted that the creature was below the surface and instructed Beast to join them. Beast readied the jet's autopilot while complaining about the complexity of the plan, saying they should have just faced Godzilla directly. Cyclops reminded him they hadn't trained for giant-sized combat. Jean Grey added that they were used to psychic mind links, but connecting the team through the super-adaptoid would be difficult. She could feel intense rage radiating from Godzilla, though she couldn't read its mind, only its fury. As Godzilla surfaced, chaos broke out at the port. Workers panicked, shouting about the monster as the water rose. The super-adaptoid charged with PIM particles fell from orbit like a meteor. its telekinetic shield deflecting heat during re-entry before striking the ocean. The X-Men's combined consciousness guided it, channeling their powers through the construct. Cyclops, Jean, Storm, Wolverine, Beast, Gambit, and Xavier synchronized their minds as the Adaptoid grew in size to match Godzilla. The giant hybrid being, imbued with plasma, optic blasts, lightning, and adamantium strength, confronted Godzilla directly. Cyclops sensed the monster's rage and realized it saw them as obstacles to its goal, not enemies. Beast detected heavy mechanical activity inside the cargo ship, and before the team could act, Cyclops shouted that it posed a danger and must be destroyed. As Godzilla clashed with the massive X-Men-powered super adaptoid, a violent shockwave shook the harbor. Containers and cranes collapsed as the monster roared, and Sunfire shouted that something inside the Trust cargo ship was breaking free. Beast and Cyclops realized what was coming, with Beast joking that this must be the part where the enemy of our enemy becomes our friend. Cyclops replied grimly that nothing labeled Trask could be friendly. The ship split open, unleashing the Tri-Sentinel Mecha Kaiju, a fusion of Trask's Sentinel robotics and Kaiju DNA. The monster possessed the combined powers of Batra, Biolante, and Fire Rodan, giving it metamorphic abilities, acid sap, fanged tendrils, and atomic energy blasts. A report revealed Seguina Robotics had collaborated with Trask Industries, merging Sentinel tech with Kaiju traits to create a weapon capable of countering both mutants and monsters. The mechanical behemoth immediately attacked, forcing Godzilla, Sunfire, and the X-Men construct to turn their focus toward it. Xavier urged Chiro to cooperate, declaring they had to face the true threat together. Storm generated hurricane force winds, raising the water level and exposing the Tri-Sentinel. Wolverine, controlling the Adaptoid's claws, dove in to slash at it, while Godzilla unleashed his atomic breath. The combined assault overwhelmed the creature. Onshore, Xavier and Jean sensed the fear and rage of nearby humans who had built the machine, realizing they were victims of their own creation. As debris fell, Kanito tried to flee, but was caught in the destruction. Godzilla wrestled the Tri-Sentinel while the Adaptoid and Sunfire provided cover. Xavier's telepathic narration revealed humanity's cycle of fear, how each battle led to stronger, deadlier weapons. With Godzilla and the X-Men striking in unison, the Tri-Sentinel was destroyed. Godzilla roared victoriously, and Sunfire saluted him. The Blackbird departed, with Xavier noting that though another battle was won, the war would continue until the reason for fighting itself ended. As the dust settled, Godzilla loomed over the ruins, glaring at Kaneto, who cowered in fear. Cyclops and the X-Men rushed in, with Storm and Sunfire hovering above. Jean tried to reach Godzilla telepathically, but could only sense its emotions, frustration, and exhaustion. She connected those feelings to the team's hope, letting Godzilla feel their intentions. Xavier revealed Kaneto's hatred stemmed from 1955, when his father, serving in Japan's defense force, died during a battle between Godzilla and Anguirus. Godzilla hadn't caused his death, but had tried to stop the destruction. Kaneto, overwhelmed, confronted the mutants, asking if they sided with the monster. Xavier replied that mutants understood what it meant to protect a world that feared them. Godzilla, satisfied the threat was gone, turned and left peacefully. Cyclops thanked Sunfire, who wished them well. As Kaneto reflected, Sunfire suggested sometimes the real monster could be found in the mirror. Godzilla vs. Avengers. In Astoria, Oregon, Maria Hill addressed the new Avengers aboard a SHIELD ship, hovering above a devastated town. She reminded them she had never supported their formation and blamed them for the destruction below, once the first permanent American settlement west of the Rockies. Maria called it rubble, but Captain America argued it was only a little damaged. Luke Cage noted they'd saved lives, while Spider-Woman said Maria was exaggerating. Wolverine admitted the bridge was a mess, and Spider-Man added that considering the threat, they'd handled it well. The story flashed back to the battle. Godzilla clashed violently with Fin Fang Foom amid the chaos, as the Avengers watched from the wreckage. Iron Man claimed they managed the situation fine, though Spider-Man pointed out the costly bridge repairs. Wolverine insisted it wasn't his fault, and Luke Cage clarified no one blamed him. Captain America said the bridge loss was unfortunate, but reminded the team to stay focused. Captain America narrated that they were outmatched from the start. Spider-Man rescued civilians, joking that no one got hurt much, while Iron Man targeted Fin Fang Foom, realizing it was a mistake. Spider-Man explained the challenge of swinging without tall buildings, while Iron Man reflected that mistakes helped them learn. Luke Cage endured Godzilla's attack, saying unbreakable skin didn't mean no pain, as Wolverine fought back with fiery claws. Spider-Woman attacked from above, wishing Hulk or Thor were present. But instead, a giant robot suddenly descended from the sky, startling everyone. As the battle raged, Wolverine and Captain America wondered where the giant robot came from, hoping it was friendly. Iron Man confirmed it was Jet Jaguar, a robot built by Goro Ibuki for kaiju emergencies, reassuring the team it was there to help. Spider-Man and Luke Cage joked about the robot's name, while Spider-Woman directed civilians to safety. Ant-Man observed that Jet Jaguar was steering the monsters away from town, reducing damage. Jet Jaguar grappled Fin Fang Foom, but Spider-Man struggled to contain the dragon's fall with limited web fluid. When he asked Spider-Woman for help, she snapped that she didn't do webs. Fin Fang Foom became tangled in Spider-Man's webs, temporarily trapped. Jet Jaguar signaled a thumbs up, but Iron Man warned they still had Godzilla to deal with. Luke Cage checked on Wolverine's burns, and Wolverine grumbled that worse pain was coming. Later, back on the helicarrier, Maria Hill interrogated the Avengers, frustrated that the story made no sense. Holding Jet Jaguar's head, she noted it didn't resemble a jet or a jaguar, and demanded answers about the unauthorized megamech. Spider-Woman and Wolverine traded sarcastic remarks as Hill scolded them. 3 young civilians, Bonnie Ibuki and her friends, were revealed as the creators of the robot. They called themselves Kaiju Busters, though they corrected Hill to Kaiju Chasers United. Bonnie explained her uncle was Goro Ibuki, creator of the original Jet Jaguar, and they had built their version from salvaged materials to fight kaiju. Hill was skeptical it could grow to 150 feet without PIM particles. Bonnie narrated how they salvaged junkyard parts, rebuilt Jet Jaguar, and launched it to fight monsters. Hill asked if they tested it. Bonnie admitted it worked, but not as they'd hoped. Her teammate insisted it did its job, until it didn't. As Jet Jaguar malfunctioned, Captain America asked what went wrong. Bonnie's team realized the robot's AI had glitched, making it turn on Godzilla. They panicked, trying to regain control, while Fin Fang Foom broke free from Spider-Man's weakened webbing. Spider-Man quipped about the failure, and the others debated whether the robot or the plan was worse. Iron Man insisted his plan was fine, claiming control while flying Luke Cage and Spider-Man over the chaos. Spider-Man called it the worst plan ever, as Captain America evacuated civilians. Bonnie and her friends watched in horror, fearing for Fin Fang Foom's life. The robot flung both monsters into the water, and Spider-Man admitted the situation didn't look promising, as Captain America shielded civilians from debris. In the present, Fin Fang Foom, now restrained and electrified, stood before Maria Hill holding a truck. Hill ordered him to put it down, sternly reminding him it wasn't a toy. Reluctantly, the creature obeyed. The Avengers gathered nearby as Hill began questioning him. Spider-Man asked if the force field could hold the dragon, while Spider-Woman joked his legs might already be broken. The Kaiju Busters complained, and Hill asked them to stay silent while she conducted the interrogation. Iron Man suggested asking why Fin Fang Foom attacked Godzilla, but the group spiraled into banter. Hill tried to keep order as Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and others argued about the dragon's gender and his purple shorts. Spider-Woman deadpanned that it was okay to say bra, irritating Hill further. The kids debated whether Kaiju even wore clothes, and Luke Cage wondered aloud about Man-Thing. Hill snapped at them to stop talking. When she finally regained focus, Fin Fang Foom spoke, saying it wasn't fair, declaring himself King of Monsters. Earlier, Fin Fang Foom declared himself King of the Monsters, while flying toward a bridge, only to spot Godzilla below. Shocked and angry, he yelled at Godzilla, demanding to know why he was there. Godzilla responded with a roar, prompting Fin Fang Foom to attack, shouting repeatedly that he was the true king. He pounded his chest and roared, but Godzilla's massive stomp shook the ground, frightening nearby civilians. Fin Fang Foom screamed that Godzilla wasn't king and lunged again, ordering him not to ignore him. Godzilla finally retaliated, slapping Foom across the face multiple times with his tail, leaving him dazed and bruised. Back in the present, the Avengers and Maria Hill listened to Fin Fang Foom's account. Iron Man found the story pathetic, while Spider-Man asked if he really got slapped by a tail. Hill questioned if the entire destruction started over a title dispute. Fin Fang Foom repeated that he was the king of monsters, prompting Hill to sigh and say he could keep believing that. She then turned to the team, asking what happened to the other king of monsters, the one not trapped in a force field. The scene shifted to the battle. The Avengers coordinated, with Captain America ordering them to drive Godzilla away from the city. Iron Man blasted from above, Spider-Woman fired energy beams, and Luke Cage complained about joining the team as he dodged Godzilla's tail. Spider-Man rescued civilians, joking about how often he dealt with situations like this. Godzilla wrestled Fin Fang Foom while Jet Jaguar's wreckage sank. Bonnie and her team mourned their damaged robot, unsure if it could be rebuilt. Godzilla eventually turned and swam back to open water. Iron Man proudly claimed his plan worked, though Captain America disagreed. Wolverine shouted at the retreating monster, furious. As calm returned, the young inventors discussed rebuilding Jet Jaguar. Captain America reminded them to act responsibly, and Iron Man admired the robot's craftsmanship. Spider-Man joked it looked cool and couldn't wait to see Maria Hill's reaction. In the end, Hill sat alone with Jet Jaguar's head, muttering in frustration. Godzilla versus Thor. In Japan, within a forgotten forest and nameless valley, the arch-priestess of the hand addressed a group of captives. She spoke of ancient gods and the coming of the beast who defiled their creations. The citadel honored the beast through murder, the ultimate art form. The Hand's ninja had long celebrated this gift, but the clan was incomplete, lacking a leader, a fist. The archpriestess revealed she had once believed Frank Castle to be the beast's chosen one, but he failed her. Now, she sought another. Before her stood the world's greatest convicted killers, freed from prisons worldwide. She told them they were gathered to help bring forth the beast's true fist. When one prisoner asked who they were supposed to kill, she mocked them, calling them unworthy of such glory. None of them, she said, could compare to the beast's magnificence. She didn't need them to kill, she needed them to die. As the killers screamed and were slaughtered, their blood flooded the chamber. The archpriestess watched, realizing at last who the true fist of the beast was. Not a man, but a monster. The blood-soaked chamber became a pool of sacrifice, and she chanted for the beast to rise again, reborn in rage. The red waters churned violently as the massive form of Godzilla began to awaken, king of the monsters, king of all killers. Days later in Tokyo, terrified crowds ran as Godzilla rose once more, unleashing his atomic breath across the city. The archpriestess explained that the world believed Godzilla dead after Yokohama, his body obliterated but his heart still beating with fury, the rage of wars and slaughter. She declared his rebirth as divine vengeance, watching as he rampaged through the city. Awestruck, she smiled and asked her followers, "Have you ever seen anything so beautiful?" Lightning tore through the sky as Thor descended, Mjolnir in hand. The clouds roared with thunder as he struck down toward Godzilla beneath him. From Asgard, the god of thunder had heard the cries of mortals, answering their plea against the terror-ravaging Tokyo, Godzilla. Godzilla's roar shook the city as Thor collided with it, recognizing the monster as a dragon with cold, lifeless eyes and a burning radioactive breath. Godzilla's atomic blast ripped through buildings, and Thor met it with lightning, refusing to reason with such a beast. Calling on the storms of Midgard, Thor summoned a vortex of thunder, lifting Godzilla skyward. He declared that the creature fancied itself a god, but would now battle among gods in the heavens. Their clash tore through the clouds, scorching the skies above Tokyo as lightning and atomic fire turned the air into a storm of destruction. Across Earth, thunder and roars echoed for hours, shaking continents. From below, the Hand's archpriestess urged her followers to pray that a god would die that day. Thor unleashed strike after strike, believing Mjolnir's blows would finally bring the monster down. But Godzilla endured, roaring and blasting back with even greater power. The archpriestess exulted that he was stronger than ever, empowered by the beast's fury. Thor vowed to end it, summoning frost from Jotunheim to freeze his foe. He commanded Mjolnir to open a portal and hurled a storm of ice upon Godzilla, freezing the beast solid mid-roar. Weeks later, Godzilla's frozen form towered over the ruins of Tokyo, guarded by Japan's self-defense forces. Scientists debated studying him, while Thor offered to hurl him into the sun. Nearby, the archpriestess approached the guarded zone. When soldiers demanded she leave, her ninja struck swiftly, killing them all. She smiled and said she came only to pray. Before the frozen form of Godzilla, the archpriestess of the Hand called his defeat blasphemy. She vowed vengeance against Thor, the so-called meddler and god who had dared to stand against her master. She studied Thor's history, recounting his battles with legendary foes, Jormungand, Malekith, Thanos, Tyrannos, and Mangog, declaring him the greatest of gods. Yet, she spoke of one enemy who had once wounded Thor in a way no other could, Gorr the God Butcher. Her ninja retrieved from the collector's vaults the last sliver of all-black the Necrosword, the weapon once wielded by Gorr. As the blade pulsed with dark power, she raised it to the frozen titan, saying, "The blade of Gorr the God Butcher chooses you." Meanwhile, Thor traveled through the cosmos toward Asgard, reflecting on his triumphs. Yet he sensed something wrong. Heimdall did not answer his call at the Bifrost. Reaching Asgard, Thor found Sif mortally wounded and floating in space. She whispered that the attack came without warning and begged him to avenge them. Before Thor could question who had done this, a deafening roar echoed through the void. The cry of the beast reborn. Thor returned to find Godzilla transformed, infused with the power of the Necrosword, now known as Godzilla the God Butcher. Their battle erupted across realms, tearing through dimensions and scorching the world tree itself. As the gods of Asgard perished, Thor fought alone, summoning all storms to his call. Godzilla unleashed his necrobreath, destroying worlds. And as it burned through the heavens, Thor thought he saw the monster smile. From afar, the Archpriestess rejoiced, calling Godzilla the bringer of Ragnarok. But Thor refused defeat. He summoned every storm in existence. From across creation, every cyclone and solar wind, all converging into him for one final strike. A cataclysmic storm raged across the cosmos, a hurricane the size of a galaxy, the all-storm born from Thor's fury. Lightning and atomic fury collided as Godzilla unleashed his necrobreath into the maelstrom. Even as the storm threatened to tear the universe apart, Godzilla still stood. Thor, battered but unyielding, screamed for the beast to fall, swearing by the blood of the gods to end him. Godzilla charged through the storm, his body crackling with both lightning and black fire. Thor summoned Mjolnir, channeling all the power of the superstorm through himself, even if it cost his life. He thanked Mjolnir for standing with him one last time and hurled himself directly into Godzilla's necrobreath, shouting, "See you in hell!" The explosion consumed them both. Across galaxies, the Archpriestess felt the shock of their clash. Without a word, she left the Citadel of the Hand and vanished into the forest. In Valhalla, fallen gods celebrated, but for others, rest was fleeting. On the shores of Jol in Hell, Thor arose once more. Hearing the familiar roar, he lifted Mjolnir, acknowledging the beast, and answered its call. The two faced each other in the land of the dead, as Thor charged again, shouting, "For Asgard!" Their eternal battle continued, raging each dawn in hell, unmatched and unending. Death was not the end. Every Ragnarok became a new beginning. The shattered cosmos echoed with the remnants of their clash. Worlds torn apart, stars reignited, and the broken Mjolnir flying endlessly through space. It was said that gods would be reborn through the ages, and monsters like Godzilla would never die. Mjolnir and Godzilla's colossal form drifted among fragments of creation, showing that their struggle would endure beyond time and death. That marks the end of the Godzilla vs. Marvel arc, My Monsters. Up next, we will bring the new series, Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, in our Godzilla and Marvel playlist. Till then, stay tuned and spread the word about our channel, and keep buying comic books.